how are we?
Shawnee, I can't believe it's Sunday again.
It's,
Now, people are listening to this
it's
going,
Monday.
it's Monday.
People are listening. It's
Monday.
Monday morning,
Yeah,
people.
no.
They're like,
Yeah,
they
I did it
wish
to
it
give
was
them a
Sunday right
context.
now.
There's someone driving to work now going, I think I'm supposed to go back to bed.
Why is the traffic so quiet this morning? It's like, maybe it is Sunday, or maybe it's just because it's summertime.
But I tell you what, one thing I've noticed here, it's put me out of sync. So obviously I work 6 days a week. Friday is my day off. And the weekends here are Friday, Saturday. So scheduling is just bizarre. And one of the bits I'm finding the hardest on is my own routine. So yes, I have a routine. I'm working 6 days a week, and it is what it is. The schedule comes out the night before. You kind of find out where you're going and what you're doing. But there's something about, do you know the whole I'll start on Monday?
Yeah, what's that to
That's a
you?
that's like a Wednesday. So it's amazing how that thought process creeps back in. It's like, ooh, I might push this to Monday. But it's absolutely amazing, and it's true to what we're seeing with our guests as well. We have a bit busy summer schedule of guests coming up. We have the lead in the summer series for the Dublin series into the Dublin Marathon. You have your backyard ultra coming up. The triathlon season is well underway at the minute, and there's a lot of people gearing up for a lot of big races and big PBs over the next couple of weeks. But scheduling is one question we've been asked about so often. How do you manage vacation? How do you manage holiday times? How do you keep your training in check? And it's probably one of the hardest things. And we have found, and I know for you and me, Sean, we kind of planned holidays around marathons, really, didn't we?
Well, yeah. I mean, I was a couple of days away now after Dublin Marathon again this year, which is awful over here because it's right in the middle of the midterm break and everything goes up, and it's like it's the only time I get away. When you started that story, I thought you were going to go into how hot it is over there, and I was going to reach my hand across the Zoom screen and strangle your neck because the heat even planning. Now, this is rare and it's something good to complain about. But on Friday, I was working from home most of the day. And it was like, I'll go for a run at 12 o'clock. I'm like, oh, it's pretty hot out there at 12. I won't go at 12. A long story short, I eventually went out at like 4:30, 5 o'clock. I knew if I didn't run then, I wasn't going to run it all that day. And 3K in, it was 21 degrees, not your 44 over there in Dubai. And I felt like shit listening to you in the back of my head going, I do my walks through 44 degrees and stuff like that. 21 it was going up the hill. And I'm like, I think I'm done. I don't think I can finish this. When I got to the second hill, another 7K in, I had to walk for a little bit. And I'm so unused to running any sort of heat again that when I'm planning my runs now, when I got to Sunday, I was like, right, it was getting later and later. I got there 10. I'm like, you wait any longer and it gets warm, you're not going to be able for a 20K run today. So you better get out the door right now and get it done.
Yeah, it's a serious motivation. Even over here, there's run clubs now that are starting at 3 a.m. And they're running from 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. up to 6 because as soon as the sun comes up, it's exponential. So at night, at around that, just before sunset's the coldest time of the night, I suppose, you're looking at temperatures of about 33 degrees. So that's why they're targeting that time through the night for their marathon training and stuff, which is bonkers.
Doesn't feel
It's
like that.
absolute madness, you know, and it's again the strategy that I've been forced to take is this walk run technique, and it's what I'm going to continue to do until the end of August. So this week, 3 laps of the little compound I'm in here. I'm like a like a polar bear in the zoo here. I'm just doing the same route again and again and again every night. Um, but it's I'm up to 2.7K. It's about 2.5 laps here. But even tonight, like throat is burning. It's like it is on fire. Once you're starting to breathe that little bit heavier, I think within a lap, my heart rate was 170.
Jeez.
And I
Okay.
was only running at a 6 minute pace. So tomorrow now I think is the start of the 3 laps. So I should be up to about 3.5, 3.7 or so. Maybe even pushing up to 4. That's starting tomorrow. We're trying to get that in at least 4 nights a week. So still working my way towards what I call my spicy 10K, which is going to be if I can do 10 kilometers in 40-degree heat, that'll be a massive achievement for me by the end of August because right now it's a dry heat. It's
Right.
so bizarre. You're running, um, you know you're tired. You know you should be sweating, but your sweat is evaporating that quick. My t-shirts are dry. Like it is absolutely bizarre. The only place you'll feel a little bit of sweat is on the armpits because obviously you've kind of covered it in, you've sealed it in.
Hmm.
But like you're sweating on you can feel it on your temples, but your t-shirt
It's
is
dry.
bone dry because it's evaporating that quick and it's really dead. Like, but then the humidity will roll in and it go to like 80% humidity and then you are saturated. And you realize how hot it is then only when the humidity comes in and how much you're actually sweating. But it's so scary because you don't realize how much you're sweating because it's just evaporating off you so quickly.
What's the Saudi version of Lucozade or electrolytes you have over there to keep you going? Or do you have a drink?
Oh,
You must have a drink which you keep you going while you're
I
running.
came, no, actually, I actually don't. There was a day there last week. Actually, we did feel it. We were out on a walk and one. I wasn't running on this night, and we were gone for an hour and a half. And after an hour, I was like, I need water, and he was like, Yeah, I'm the same. We just hit that weird kind of wall where the body started actually screaming for water, and then we brought a water. But holding the water bottle, walking around. So I I think I was only for 3 laps, but I was drinking most of it on the first lap.
Hmm.
By the time I got 1K around, when I drank it, it was like drinking tea. It had come up to the
Oh,
45 degrees, like in an instant. Like it was just
no use.
crazy. It was then warm when I was drinking it. I was like, oh man, this is weird. So it was, yeah, it's just, do you know what? I have to say, I'm not complaining about it. I was saying it to one of the guys tonight we were working with, was like, we've only got 6 weeks left of this. And then it starts to kind of cool down again.
Hmm.
And we've lost our free treadmill in the sauna. Does that make sense? It was like, this isn't like the weight I've lost, I think 6 or 7 kilos since I've got here just with going out into the heat. So I was that 96, 97. I'm down around the 90 kilo mark now. And from walking in the heat. So the effects of it, the training of it is really, really working. It's phenomenal. But in terms of a marathon base, I don't have one yet,
No.
but I'm hoping that when I get up to that 10K mark, I'll have a nice base then for September that we can really start looking towards. For me, it's the Barcelona Marathon next year and possibly the Dubai Marathon in January. Um, but it's a big change. It is a big change, and it's something I've never experienced before, and it's weirdly nice. It's weirdly cool, and it's a nice challenge. But you do feel the fatigue, you do feel the burn in your throat, so it is going to be tough. And the worst of the humidity comes next month, August.
And you're no interest in joining 3 a.m. run clubs over there at the moment because you do get a wake up call around that time or somewhere around that time, right?
Yeah, the call to prayer kicks in about 3:10. So I'm woken up by I live about as the crow flies. I think I'm about 12 meters from the main mast of the mosque with the megaphones on top. So um at the start it was a big shock. It was
Hmm.
like I got a big fright when the 3 a.m. went in. I was like, what's going on? And but I kind of just it is what it is. It's the culture, it's the religion out here, and for now, every night, regardless, I've been woken up at 3. So I just use it as a midnight water break. I use it as an excuse because the call to prayer is about 3 minutes. So I
Right.
just sip water for the 3 minutes, embrace the moment, and then go back to sleep then as well. So I'm getting the extra water, which is it actually really helps, particularly for the day. Like we're in the heat pretty much. And we have air conditioning in the aircraft and stuff, but when you're walking to the aircraft, it's 47 degrees on the tarmac, and the air conditioning doesn't kick in till you start up. So you've got that about 10-minute exposure every time before and after where you're just getting scalded. But it's yeah, you just accept the sweatiness and get on with it. But it does make for tired evenings. Yeah, definitely.
I can only imagine. What I'm accepting now is just that this weather is rain all the time out there. I'm accepting getting my ass kicked as well because I don't know if I said it to you or said it in the podcast, but I ended up signing up for Hyrox. I'm doing it in December out in.
Fucking quiet. You never
Did I
told
did
me
I
that.
say in the podcast? I thought I said it. I can't. So much talking to other people and talking to podcasts. I think I said it in the podcast. Maybe I did. But eventually, I signed up for one in December. Having Tom on the podcast, Tom Hogan on the podcast a couple weeks ago, and the running and all the rest. I was like. Oh God, none of this like it convinced me because of how important running is to the event. I'm like, I actually might not be half bad at doing this. So I signed up to Frankfurt in Germany, midway through December. And I said to herself, I was like, here, I didn't tell her I signed up for anything. I was like, I have an idea, Christmas markets, Germany, you're going to love it. We should go, right? She's like, well, I can get a weekend off. I can get this weekend off. I'll go over this weekend. It could be great. She's like, okay, fair enough. And I was like, I might have to work out early that morning, the Saturday morning. She's like, what did you sign up to now? Like, and I'm like, relax. It's not a 24-hour event. It's only an hour and a half and we're done. Which is going to feel like nothing to you. And then I'm off for the rest of the weekend, do whatever. It's just 1 hour and a half block around 12, 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday. And then we got the last flight home Sunday, and it was cheap flights. And the way they do it there is like 20 minutes to the main center of Frankfurt, and Hyrox is right there because they always have it by a big like train station, whatever. Like, so it's grand for that. What's not grand is my training. So I was like, the running's going well. I'm building up the miles slowly again. I'll jump into like in work now. They're kind of Hyrox specific sessions on a Saturday morning. So I'm jumping into them and just seeing how I get on. And because there's other people there, I know I'll push myself going through the reps and the burpees and everything else. And I'm just getting my ass kicked in front of everyone, man. It's horrible right now because
Yeah,
I'm not used to that kind of intense training. All my training to now has been like 6 minutes, 6:15 pace, skip the odd interval day, bench day. Oh, I forgot to do lower body day. Let's do another upper body day to compensate. Oh, we're back into running again. So the high intensity and the lower body stuff is out. So I'm like, I better jump in with people and do this. And I'm struggling, but I got 6 months, 5 months to go.
I think as well, like a lot of people who've reached out to us about, look, I'm taking on my first marathon and I'm doing my new event and I'm doing this event. You are, I suppose, like even with the weights I'm doing now, I'm doing the very same as what we would do is I do my 3 sets by 10 reps and I take my 90 seconds in between and I go heavy and but when you add in like that little bit of cardio induced, it humbles anyone.
Mm.
Like the lightest weight, body weight can humble you over 10 reps if you keep doing it with other things and back to backs and supersets and one thing to the next. It's difficult and whether it's Hyrox or a marathon or new, you're gonna be humbled over the first little while. And yeah, some people can shy away from it then and go, I'm never doing that again. And others can go, I hate how hard this is. This needs to stop.
Oh, yeah, you just have to accept. Like, I was literally at one of the stations at the end of the 20-minute block. I lay there. I knew the members were all looking at me. I was like, just see me in 6 months' time. You're gonna see me every Saturday that I'm not working. I'm gonna be doing these classes. But I haven't said that, just touching your point there. I am only doing those classes once a week. So I'm doing that intense cardio once a week only. And then I'll do intervals. At the moment, I think I'm having for Tuesday, a couple days later. What I'm not doing is going all in on high rocks and going all in on marathon training and all in even on the backyard ultra in a couple of weeks. I've kind of left that a little bit too late to really build up. I'm gonna try and build the mileage over the next couple of weeks. But my main thing is get through that injury free because the 100 mile just took a lot more out of me. But those that are listening now going, oh, marathon training, maybe I'll do what Eric says and, go heavy in the gym 3-4 times days a week, get my marathon in 4 or 5 times a week, training. Maybe I'll do what Sean's doing, 2-3 down towards Hyrox and head towards something else. It's like, man, I've been there, I've done that. You're going to get injured. Have one main focus. It's all right, maybe once, twice a week if you can get your recovery in between to get a different session or different stimulus or just something to help you keep in the gym. Like there's going to be by doing high intense stuff, it's going to help me a little bit build an engine more, which would be good to go faster. But the way to really get faster is to run faster as well. Like that's the quickest way to get faster is to do that.
Yeah.
So my main thing is still Dublin Marathon, build the mileage towards that. The backyard ultra in a couple of weeks, it helps build up mileage. Most of it slow paced. 60-70% of the intervals, I'm still not going flat out doing them. And then my one kind of high roxy kind of session then on a Saturday morning. But it's mostly that then. And I've got 6 weeks after Dublin. I got 1 week of recovery to eat and drink whatever I want. And after that, then I've got those last 5 to 6 weeks. I'll pretty much go all in the high rocks to CAM. Even believe it or not, it's a perfect time to put on a small bit of weight because from the podcast a couple weeks ago with Tom, it's like, hey, you want a bit more weight onto you for pushing sleds and stuff like that. And I'm like, an excuse to eat more and do more body work after a marathon, I'm in.
You're saying I can put back on those 7 kilos?
Maybe if you're doing the pro rates for Hyrox, but then try and run around that 8K at a fast weight at 97 kilo and we'll see. I want to get down to 80
Stuff.
for Dublin. 80, 81, maybe 82, possibly
81.
83. No,
That's
80,
yeah, it's
81,
pretty light for
81.
you at the minute. Yeah, that would be light. But like it's a. Does that mean you'd be going slow for Barcelona then if you're focusing on Hyrox?
I've got Donadea booked in for 50K in February. That's my
Don't worry.
my
There's a few
long run
people.
before that is the 50K to make sure I get well under 5 hours to get me on
There's
track
a
for,
few
for
people that
Barcelona.
reminded me of that wager you threw down there a
What
couple of weeks ago.
wager?
Yeah, it's all right. You said you'd pay for me kitchen
Go way out
if
of that. I could barely start
if
paying
I
for my
beat
own
you.
kitchen right now.
But it is something that we have done and made a lot of mistakes on. There's one thing that we will touch on over the next little while, and that is how strength and conditioning is important. It is we shared stories from a guest who's going to be on the podcast over the next couple of weeks as well. Strength and conditioning goes hand in hand with any running thing. And what we learned from the episode about Hyrox and why it interested was we seem to see the benefits
Mm.
from a strength and conditioning point of view, from a cardiovascular point of view, and how possibly it can carry into the likes of the marathons and keep you in that kind of all round fitness as well. And working the body in different ways and cross training, which a lot of people who are going to get plans over the next little while will see cross train.
Mm.
And everyone automatically thinks, okay, I'll get on the cross trainer for 45 minutes. And it's not necessarily that. It can be a bike, it can be a swim, it can be weights, and a good strength and conditioning full body workout that works different parts or the body because running is monotonous. It's the same muscle groups, it's the same, it's just long slogs at times until you do your intervals. You change up the game a little bit in there, or hill sprints will change up the games a little bit. But it's I'm actually interested to see, Sean, how it goes post marathon through intense high rocks training into then what actually happens when you start for your 50K and Barcelona and what kind of base you have for it.
Yeah, and that I don't know. And just as you're talking there about the cross train and stuff like that, I think I'm when you're doing the strength training and stuff as well, it's one of those where try not to be an idiot, go too heavy on the squats or too heavy on an exercise that you haven't done before. And then you have the DOMs and you're sore for 2, 3 days afterwards and it hits the running. So if you haven't done, like, for example, if someone's listening to this now and they haven't done much strength condition training and they're on their week 2 of the Dublin Marathon plan, I would still recommend gym work, obviously, background, but I wouldn't recommend going all in on it either. As in, like, I definitely leave 2, 3, 4 reps in the tank and just slowly build it up. Because the last thing you want to do, and this is one I really struggled my first year doing a marathon, was like, I wanted to do it all. And I would be sore for a day or two after. There was a time where I prioritized leg day and lower body day, and I'd be sore for a couple of days after that. And then I try to run on that and then run that again with intervals. And then lo and behold, I had problems with my calves and my Achilles and stuff just because I was just doing too much. I think when you build it up, and sometimes you see people recommending bodyweight exercises, I'm like, really? And then when you do them, or when they're done right in the right tempo and everything like that, and they're feeling it, it's like, okay, that or lighter weight is perfect. And to slowly build up that way, and you're getting your bit of strength and conditioning in, and you're moving through a full range of motion, and but you feel good doing your run after that. Especially if Dublin Marathon now is your priority, it's hard to fit everything in. And it's great to do something different, like a high intensity session, whatever. But don't do that on a Saturday evening if you've got your long run on a Sunday morning. It's trying to fit those in, and you don't need to be doing 9, 10, 11, 12 sessions a week. It's like, how did you find fitting all that in for like your strength and conditioning? Sometimes you're big into the yoga, you're doing a little bit of cross training the bike, and then you're in the middle of marathon training. But take the year you did the 3:35, that you were going for a lot lower than that at the time.
I suppose just given the year that it was, I was just so in love with training that I was doing it twice a day. Um,
But you're doing
you
different
know,
stuff during the day and you built up to it.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
you didn't
So
just go day one, I will do running, bike, like and swim, and then gym work and all the rest. You started in like January of that year, and you built
yeah,
throughout that
yeah.
year.
I
Do you know what I mean?
started in
Like,
so that year triathlon was the goal. I got it in my head. that I wanted to do a triathlon, and I started in late January, early February. I remember going to a swimming pool out in Clondalkin, um, and it's not even 20 meters. I think it was about 15 meters wide. You were swimming widths as opposed to lengths. And I swam across, swam back, and nearly drowned. And I was like, wow, this is gonna be bad. But that took a while to get into, and then I didn't really cycle much, but I got out on the odd cycle, and I started as it came into spring. We actually had a nice spring, I think, that year as well.
Mm.
I remember I started cycling to and from places like I knew I was going home to visit family. We were in Maynooth at the time, so I cycled back to to Ratoath from Maynooth, and then when I was on that little journey, I was like, if I go left, it's an extra 15 kilometers. If I go straight, it's easy. And I was like, we're gonna take the easy way, and we're turning left. So, like, there was little things from that first swim to that first 2K, 3K, to the push-ups and sit-ups in the bedroom at night, for the six pack, for the beach boy, all those things. But all of the little things I took really added up. And then what made a big difference was I did my first one in the first triathlon I did. I was four Olympics in 4 weeks was the plan. And the first was in June in Thai. Um, and after that, I then signed up to the aquatic center, got the full membership, and it gave me
Mm.
access to the running track. And then every night after work, I'd leave. I'd go to the aquatic center at 4:30, and I wouldn't leave there till nearly half eight. This is going to sound pathetic. It was about half eight, so I could get home to watch Love Island at 9 o'clock when it was in its peak.
You ruined it. You ruined it. No such thing as that
But
show on its peak. Ruined it.
I just remember it in the routine because I'd be
Mm.
back and I'd be having my little snack and I'd be watching that show. And then I'd be waking up and we'd be doing it all again then the next evening and trying to break it up during the day. So I think what it was little changes and little habits and a goal and a good goal. And then it became very much lifestyle. It became very much I want to do more. But the base had been built over 4 or 5 months, and then the
Mm.
decisions became easy. Like when people listen back to some of our guests, um, they're running 100 miles races like it's nothing, like it's a 5K for some people, an easy run on a Monday. Now, it's not that easy. They do find it difficult, but the want is there to do it because they started with a 5K, it moved to a 10K, and they just kept that going. And I think that's one thing that really favored me that year. I just fell in love with sport, and then how bad I was at it, was the bit that got me about it as well. And it's kind of what's really enticing me about this summer weather. It
Mm.
is so hard, and I hate that it's kicking my ass every time I go. But today was the first day. Actually, there was a bit of a breakthrough because I couldn't get my heart rate above 100 on the walking part, so I had to run. And then once
Oh,
I do my
nice.
two and a half laps, it sits at 120 to 130. It does not come back down. And that's walking. For
Mm.
another hour, I walk and my heart rate will not come back down. So, but it is taking more to get there. So, um, I don't know what that will mean for me come September, October, when the temperatures come back down to about 30 to 35. Will I have more tolerance in the evenings? Will I see pace increase? Because at the minute, I've never been in this position before. I've nothing to compare against. All I know is it's really hard and it's unrealistic to for me to think I can run 5K, don't get me wrong, and I have done, but I suffer a lot. It's red line all the time. And as we know, in any training program, you can't do that all the time.
Mm.
It's and even in Brandon's episode a couple of weeks ago, yeah, we had a chat afterwards about training out here, and he was like, "Look, it's definitely the poor man's altitude training, but you have to be very careful because you could burn out so quickly for what when you're comparing yourself in Ireland running your 5K when it's like 8 degrees outside versus trying to run 5K when it's 45. It's a big difference, and burnout and serious fatigue and injury can come quite quickly after that. So that's why, as embarrassing as it is that I'm only up to tomorrow, it'll be 3.5K on the runs. I'm just enjoying the process and how difficult those are and the burning sensations. Like if you run faster, this is bizarre. I did run like I tried a little interval just for speed at the end, like a couple of strides, because we're sitting all the time in the aircraft. So I just actually wanted to stretch the legs, if that makes sense. Um, Faster I ran, the more my face burnt because you're running against a hot wind. Does that does that
No, it
does
doesn't
that
make sense. I live in Ireland, man.
so the faster I was moving through the air, the hotter my face felt because of the hot air hitting my face. I was like, do you know when you go into a sauna and you or a steam room and you kind of have to squint, it's that hot.
Yeah.
That's what it was like today leaving the house, or when it was doing that speed. Like your eyes are actually kind of burning. You kind of squint because of that. Like, but I've never far been in the sauna felt it, and so far the training opportunity it's given is amazing, but also it's not ideal. I'd rather be at home going for an hour and a half run in the Phoenix Park, to be honest. Like in the
Yeah.
summertime in Ireland, it's but it's an unknown, and I'm liking the challenge at the minute. I am liking so hopefully by the end of August is the goal to get to that 10K mark.
Do you feel like if you came back home, like how do you feel in terms of fitness right now? If you were to come back home to Ireland for a week and go for a 90-minute run in that Phoenix Park, because you haven't done it, but do you feel like because you've been almost redlining the stuff out there, do you feel anyway fit or not fit, or like how would you feel compared to going
I,
for a 9-minute run if you came back home the heat out of the
I
equation?
actually, it's really hard to gauge. I'd actually be afraid to say I'd be in good nick.
Yeah.
I'd be afraid to say because it's the mental side. I've only ever ran 2K over the
Mm.
last a couple of 5Ks maybe last month, but this last 4 weeks it's just got to that level of oof. Um, so I think strength wise I've been doing really well in the gym. I think I'm stronger than I've been in a long, long time, so I'd be more confident on that kind of thing.
Mm.
The running side, like no, it's impossible to say. Like I've been walking between so every night it's an hour 30. So we get so many laps in. It's about 8 kilometers. So tonight I did about, I think it was about 9 because I ran 2 laps while the guys were running or walking. So I lost out in a kilometer. So I did 9, they did 8. And a few guys that work with me, they're all out. My little walking club is going around. It's like killing a scuddy, you know. The women are going walking around. That's us. Um, but it's I know it'd be stupid to say that because I run 3K I can do a 10K at
Mm.
home. No, I don't
But how
think
do you
so.
feel that you don't feel like you could? I don't ask the same question again, but you know when you feel fitter,
I
no?
feel lighter. I
Oh, you feel
definitely
yeah, you feel
lighter.
lighter, you feel
Yeah.
fitter.
Yeah, I feel lighter. Like I come in knowing I worked. Like I come in and like I'm drinking 6 liters of water a day, and I'm not going to the toilet as often as you would think for 6 liters of water a day.
You
You know,
feel
so
fitter and moving more than someone who's done 2, 3K. I know with the heat and all the rest.
oh yeah, and look, the fact that there's 8 kilometers of walking and 2 point whatever
Mm.
of them are running, like I'm still moving. I'm still moving in that heat. So there is still like for example, if people just spend time at altitude, they will feel fitter when they come back down. Things won't feel as labored, things won't feel as hard. And I reckon I'll get away for it up to about 10 mile. I'd
Okay.
say if I came home and you said let's go for a run, I'd only probably warm up after 5K because it'd be freezing.
Mm.
And it'd be a heart rate thing. And then I'd say once I actually warm up to it, it's then mileage that'll get me. And I'll probably at 10 mile, I'll be like, oh no, Sean, I'm actually getting a bit sore because I haven't
Yeah,
covered the miles.
that
I'm
pen.
doing 8K a walk and I'm on my feet. But yeah, I think, but overall, if it'll give me a good base into September, October, and then it's a case of once I start to get those 10 miles out here when it cools a little or into your 20Ks and half marathon distances and longer runs, it'd be very interesting to see. Well, I suppose that's where we're going to find out in Barcelona. I suppose we're going to
Mm.
find out if it worked. Um, but it's so hard to gauge. Right now, I feel weird, right? This is going to sound weird and a little bit egotistical. Right now, I feel like the fittest man in this entire compound because I'm the only one who runs in the evening. There's a guy here, my roommate actually runs. He's actually doing heart rate training as well, but he's at like an 8:30. But he can run. But I'd say the two of us are the fittest people in this compound. Um, and and he's probably fitter than me in the running by a mile because he's just off a marathon block
Okay.
and he's cruising. But everyone else like look at us like we are crazy.
Running that.
Majority of people are out. They're not walking. They're strolling in the heat. Like there's very few who walk like we walk, and then when we're running, like even some of the kids, now the kids are out playing football and stuff, they get it, their hour of football, but even still, they're looking at us going, "What are these crazy people doing running?" Like it is.
Yeah.
You feel a little, you do feel like an outlier. It's just you can tell they're all thinking you're nuts. Like on one lap, they're like, okay, the second at the fifth lap, they're like, what is this person doing? So yeah, it's just different. It is just different. And I could use the treadmills, I could use this, but there's just something about this challenge that's just, yeah, it's just making me want to do it, to be honest.
No, man, I'd be done to treadmill if I was you. I couldn't handle that. I can talk about all the events and all the stuff I'm doing, but when it came to something like that, nah, I'd be tapping now. I'd be straight in that
But
treadmill.
it's like the positive reinforcement. I know we touched on it on the tips of Dublin, and it's you shouldn't take on a plan in order to lose weight, and then
Yeah.
that shouldn't be the main goal. But the positive reinforcement of watching the weight come off me is making me just want to stay outside. Does that make
Yeah, but
sense?
you're not yeah, but that's a bright byproduct of it. You're not doing this to, maybe you are, maybe I'm wrong. But like you're
Well,
talking about
it helped.
Barcelona stuff like that. It helps obviously lose the weight, and the goal is to get the weight down. But like that's what Barcelona and being one half of a running podcast, all that kind of comes into, well, like
Yeah,
if
yeah,
all
yeah,
this was
yeah.
gone, if Barcelona was gone.
I risk extreme dehydration just for the fans.
That's not what I mean.
No, no, but it is. Look, there is that added pressure of, oh, look, me and you like this stuff. We like
Hmm.
pushing the limits a little bit. We're not the best athletes in the world, but we like to learn lessons, I suppose, is probably the best way of putting it. But it's just new. It's really, really new. And look, there's some phenomenally talented people out there that are doing this all the time, all over the world. It's nothing new for some, but for the likes of us, it's a bit nuts. But yeah, it's like I was even listening back to some of David Goggins stuff, and he was training for the run through Death Valley and all, which would be similar temperatures to this,
Yeah.
and he did it, and he trained for it. And it's little things like that that's running through my head. But I suppose taking on the advice of Brandon was just take your time. Don't be trying to set records over the next 4 weeks. Just build it.
That's the
And
mad thing with group training and stuff like that, or even like right now, like I was good to go back to the Hyrox training and stuff I'm doing. Like, how do people do this? And you look around, it's like, oh, people are clearly doing this because they're doing it right now, and you could be running that heat going, Jesus, no one else doing it, but your mate's there beside you, and he's doing that with you. If he wasn't there, it might be like, well, maybe this isn't possible. Or if you didn't have heard stories about Goggins running the Badwater 135 and that kind of heat and in Death Valley and all the rest. You're like, maybe the human body's not meant to do this. But when you see people or hear people doing stuff that you think is possible, it just mentally turns on a switch going, well, feck it. If they could do it, I could build myself up. And this is possible when you see it done to be able to do it. Because until what you're talking about there and the Goggins stories and all the rest, if I heard 44, 45-degree heat, forget about walking outside. Like, I'm not going outside. Like that's not happening. It's like what they're doing now in Spain, where it's like during the day because they're in 44-degree heat. They're like, stay indoors during midday. I'm like, I'll do one better. I won't head to the country at all. I am staying in Ireland.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
it's
it
just
is, and
it's insane.
but look, during the day when the sun is on you, it's next to near impossible. No, you
Hmm.
really like we literally just wait for the sun to crest the back of the houses, and once it's not directly on you, you can. It's hot, but there's a difference when it's on you. You can feel it, like it's the UV warnings. Look, it's just different.
Yeah.
It's the desert, like it's but it's crazy. It is crazy. But look, it's interesting. It's a little experiment that I'm happy to be doing at the minute, mixing it in with weight training and making sure I'm eating the right things and taking on the right stuff. So the body hasn't really suffered. We'll see how it goes as we progress. This week is 3.5K, next week's 4.5K, and it's going to build like that until the end of August. So, and that should get me up to my 10K mark. But yeah, it's just interesting. It is. It's so different to anything I've ever done. Um, and yeah, good, bad, indifferent. Who knows? Only September, October will tell the tale of where I am.
Well, I'm looking forward to see how it goes and how it builds on towards next March when me, yourself, and 30 plus other people that are listening to this podcast see how you get on in Barcelona. If that ain't pressure, I don't know what is.
Yeah, I bet it gets really cold down here. I might get lazy, put on all my winter weight then. But it's Yeah, so it'll get down to about 20 degrees in the winter, but it'll be perfect training for Barcelona, and that's probably where we will see how beneficial was it starting to build a base in the hottest point to build into the long stuff in the winter to then go to Barcelona where it could even be about 16 to 18 degrees, which would be considered cold for here. Then we would know what way did that work. So it's 9 months, and it's a long time. Probably more for those who have listened back to the way I usually take on a marathon. It's probably the longest kind of strategic preparation, and for the likes of Brandon now will kick in like a lot of my stuff. My bike is coming to me in September. It's just too hot now. Like
Hmm.
it's not worth. It's not worth. Like I said, like running faster against that wind. Imagine cycling against that temperature. It just burns you.
Yeah.
It's just not worth it. So there will be other elements of cycling and swimming coming back into it. But yeah, it's interesting. It is, and it's enjoyable for now. But yeah, it's crazy. It is. It's madness. It's a cool experience.
Well, in the next couple of weeks, we'll have a lot more guests back on the Any Given Runday podcast, and then we'll definitely check in to see how you're getting on with that heat and training leading up towards where it gets a little bit cooler. Your turbo trainers back into it, and we'll keep going from there. So, anything else to add for this week's episode of the podcast?
No, that's all from us this week. Again, we'll move into the summer season with plenty more guests. And this episode was there because schedules, people are away, they're traveling. It is a difficult time of year to be training for the marathon. So my last bit of advice for people is just be easy on yourself. If you're missing a training session because you'd prioritize to spend time with your family on a trip away, that's okay. Don't try catch up on hours. Don't try catch up on runs. Just maintain yourself. You know, fitness will not go away in a week. But one thing I would say, just for your mental state, if you operate like me, if I don't train, I'll feel unfit within a day. But 20 minutes will make me feel like I've done something, particularly if I'm traveling, particularly if I'm away, or doing something, events are coming up. You know, a marathon is one thing, it's a great goal to have, but the people around you suffer when you do a marathon. So if you're taking those little bits of time to give to them, and to just dial that hour run back to 30 minutes in the morning before you go do your bits in the day, or if you're traveling, by all means just take that time, because it is important, and it will help for your longevity and lifestyle element of keeping this part of your life and being able to balance the schedule.
Absolutely, just keep taking over on that one. And that is it for this week's episode of the Any Given Runday podcast with myself and Eric. Take care.